French lawmakers have voted to dismiss Prime Minister Michel Barnier's government just 3 months into his tenure. France's far-right and left-wing lawmakers joined together to vote a no-confidence motion prompted by budget disputes that forced Prime Minister Michel Barnier to resign. The National Assembly approved the motion by 331 votes. A minimum of 288 votes were needed. French President Emmanuel Macron will address the nation on Thursday evening in a televised speech. Macron insists he will serve the rest of his term until 2027. However, he will need to appoint a new Prime Minister for the second time after July's legislative elections led to a deeply divided parliament. It's the first French government to be defeated in a no-confidence motion since 1962. Barnier is now set to become France's shortest-serving Prime Minister in history. French Prime Minister Michel Barnier said on Wednesday that no-confidence vote will make everything more difficult and that France's deficit problem will come back to haunt a future government.
What I am sure of, ladies and gentlemen, what I am saying with all seriousness in front of you is that this motion of no confidence, at a moment when you are certainly preparing to approve in conjunction with the opposition side, this motion of no confidence will make everything more serious and more difficult. That's what I am sure of.
Meanwhile, Marine Le Pen, who leads the far-right party National Rally in the parliament,
Ce qui est surprenant dans cette affaire, c'est la surprise d'un Premier ministre qui sait mieux le sectarisme et le dogmatisme.
she blamed the political impasse squarely at French President Emmanuel Macron, who she said sought to destroy French institutions, including the police, and weaken industrial players.
Ce qui est surprenant dans cette affaire, c'est la surprise.
This budget doesn't just attack France, it takes French people hostage, and most especially the most vulnerable. Pensioners with limited resources, people with illness, impoverished workers, French people considered too rich to receive aid, but not poor enough to escape a financial hammering.
Ministre, vous avez fait le choix de prolonger l'hiver technique.
Talk about the political crisis in France. Joining me is Ambassador Mohan Kumar, former Indian ambassador to France. Good afternoon and welcome, sir. Now, first, was this collapse of the French government expected given the deep divisions in the National Assembly and that Prime Minister Barnier was never a popular choice?
Thank you very much, Shubhendu, for having me. I think this goes back to the folly, the act of political folly committed by President Macron in asking for a snap election in July. You will recall that he wanted clarification from the people, and I think the people have clarified by giving a parliament which is completely stalemated. No party has a majority, and therefore the outcome that you see is really the product of a nation which is deeply divided, a political class which can't agree on much, and a president whose political gambit has backfired spectacularly.
Right. And a contentious budget proposal is said to have triggered this no-confidence motion. How does the political fallout further aggravate the economic crisis in France, according to you?
So my assessment is that France has been living beyond its means for several years now. The European Union Maastricht Treaty prescribes a limit of 3% as fiscal deficit for states which constitute part of the European Monetary and Fiscal Union. And France is close to 6%, which is almost twice the amount of fiscal deficit which is authorized by the Maastricht Treaty. Among the major countries, it's only France and Italy which have run foul of this 3%. Now, 6% is way too much, and the EU in Brussels has prescribed a disciplinary procedure against France. And I think what you are seeing, therefore, is an attempt by Barnier, Michel Barnier, to do something about this fiscal deficit. Now, that has been rejected by politics actually in France, because Marine Le Pen does not want the people to suffer more tax increases or the purchasing power to be affected. So she has also got personal ambitions of her own to become the president of France. So it's a combination of politics and personal ambition which has contrived to defeat the sensible budget proposals of Michel Barnier.
And Ambassador Kumar, finally, what do these developments mean for President Macron? Could the French president make perhaps a more balanced choice for the next prime minister that reflects the political realities, as you said, in the assembly?
No, this puts him in a very, very difficult spot, frankly, because he can try his best to choose a prime minister again. But if again the parliament decides to mete out the same fate to the new prime minister as the old prime minister, then Macron will come under tremendous pressure to resign from the presidency, which I suspect is what Marine Le Pen wants, because she wants to take a shot at the presidency before her own political battle with the Commission on charges of embezzlement will come to a fore in March. So, as I said, Macron, all eyes on him, and he has some very, very tough decisions to make. I'll also add that all this comes in a very bad time in terms of geopolitics. Both Germany and France are now in full-fledged crisis. Ukraine is in a sensitive stage, and we are expecting President Trump to become President of the United States. The combination of all these factors doesn't look good. EU risks being absent on the grand geopolitical stage.
That's right. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspective.